Welcome to the Chosen Few Expats Show. I'm Alonzo. Today we have with us a special guest who's been an expat in Panama for about 11 months, a guest that you all should know very, very well if you've been researching Panama at all on YouTube. We have joining us today Richard Voisin, aka Adventure Rich of YouTube. And thanks, Rich, for joining us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Having you with us. And if you would, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then also, how did you end up in Panama?
I hope you have time.
We have time, brother. Take it.
Okay. I am from Trinidad and Tobago. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and Trinidad and Tobago is a little island pretty much at the end of the Caribbean. We're very close to Venezuela. And we're so close that on a clear day, we can actually see Venezuela, the mountains in the distance. So I'm from a very small island, but it's a very rich island. And when I say rich, I don't mean financially, which it is as well, but I mean rich in culture, rich in diversity, rich in ecotourism. It's just an amazing place. It's a lot contained in a very small, 1.4 million people, you know what I mean? And it was just a privilege to be able to grow up there, to experience what it's like to just live on a Caribbean island, beaches, waterfalls, an incredible place to grow up. We were under the British rule for a long time, so we speak English there. Despite what people may think, Trinidad and Tobago is an English speaking predominantly. And it's just an incredible place. We're known for our carnival.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We boast one of the best carnivals in the world, and it's like every year, it's incredible, and it just keeps getting better and better. It's a huge, income for the country every year as well. It's part of a big part of the GDP. And we just love having everyone come in and enjoy it and experience it. And we're very fun-loving people.
Right.
So me getting to Panama was another thing on its own. So last year, January, that's 2019, I came here the first time just filming for a television show. And I was completely blown away before the wheels touched the tarmac. Just by the cityscape, it was way more developed than I even expected. And just being a videographer and photographer, I saw the place not only just as it was, but with just like the creative side of things, like behind the lens. So the architecture was amazing. There's so much to talk about. The Panama is amazing. The versatility is incredible. So when I came here and I filmed, I went back to Trinidad after maybe a week, and I just told them, listen, a week was nowhere near enough of what I need to be there and really capture the place. So lo and behold, I was back in July filming again, but completely different parts of Panama. And with every place that I discovered and filmed and got to know, I fell more and more in love with the place. And the thing is, as much as I know Panama is part of the Central American continent, not continent, but Central America, and everybody knows about the Panama Canal, it's, world famous. But that does not even scratch the surface of what Panama really is and what it has to offer. And I feel like not many people know that either, like globally. I could be wrong. Maybe I was just in a cave in Trinidad there, but I mean, Panama has so much to offer. So lo and behold, I was back again in October, and it was on the way to Mexico. And we spent another week here shopping, and again, mind blown by the place. So, still didn't capture everything. And I was due back in January of this year, 2020. And that's when everything happened. So I was due to go back to Trinidad on the 29th of January. And I felt like I needed to extend my stay a bit longer to get some more because this place has so much, and that's when, you know, it hit the fan.
You're right.
I
We
was
all
supposed
know
to be
what
back
happened.
on April 1st, and it was the biggest April Fool's joke I've ever experienced. I thought I
Right.
was going back to
Right.
Trinidad, but
Like
I
you can't fly home, right? So
can't go home. Yeah, but that's why I came to Panama initially, just to pretty much film for a TV show, and yeah, the rest is history.
yeah, so don't feel like it's just you living in a cave or anything like that. There are a lot of people who don't really know about Panama outside of the Panama Canal. That's part of the reason why we have this channel. You're doing a lot of the same things with your channel to introduce these things to people. And it's not you living in a cave, because I had the same reaction at how developed it was. You know, when we came here, it surprised me also. So it's definitely not just you. So don't feel that it is. So with that, you know, you come to Panama, you're falling in love with the place now. The airport's back open, you know. You hadn't been home, I don't think, in quite a while. So what's your long-term outlook here? Do you plan on staying in Panama permanently, or just gonna go back to Trinidad to live? Or, you know, what's your outlook? You don't
That
mind?
entire thing is still kind of up in the air and tricky, because as much as the airports are open, Trinidad borders are still closed.
Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so of course they're doing like soft openings where they're opening to particular Caribbean islands, and then of course you have to go through the entire process of getting COVID tested before you get there. That's something you have to pay for yourself if you want to go back home. So that's where the financial thing comes in. So that's why it's a bit tricky for me still, being here for so long, and I'm not necessarily here on a work visa or anything like that. I can't officially get a job or work, you know what I mean? So as far as there are episodes on my channel that talk about me running completely dry and not having much of an option, but I mean, that's something we'll get into later on. But just things like being able to purchase a ticket to go back home will be a problem. Being able to pay for a COVID test to go back home will be a problem. So it's still pretty much up in the air for me, and I think I'll probably be here for another 3 months.
Okay.
Before that all takes shape and I figure a plan out. But all that being said, when I do get back home in maybe January, I have a lot of thinking to do because this place is so there's a romance about it, and it's very, like, it lures you in, you know what I mean? And there are opportunities that I'm seeing that can be a possibility, you know, in the future. Exploring options right now to see how I can make that happen. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna live here. Maybe it does. I don't know. It really depends on what happens over the next few months. But I'm definitely mesmerized by this place, and I want to spend a lot more time here, because again, you'd see on the YouTube channel, I'm still scratching the surface, and it's
Yes.
20 videos in, and I'm still exploring and experiencing new things. You know what I mean? Granted that I was locked down for at least 4 or 5 months. Still, before and after that, even last year, I've been going to new places, and I'm still going to new places. And the catch is that I thought Kiki Waterfall was the biggest waterfall in Panama until today.
Oh, okay.
When I released the video on Facebook, somebody responded and said, "Oh no, this is not even close to the largest waterfall in Panama."
Really?
And he just left it as that, like, just mystery. So I'm like, okay, I've been misled. Like, tell me more. And I've been getting a little more info. So that's going to be in some future episodes. You know, I'm going to reveal what that is like, and what it's going to be to reach that place and feature it the way I do.
Nice. We're gonna be looking out for that one for sure.
It's going to be exciting.
So you live in Boquete, right?
I am staying in Boquete for now. Yes.
¿Por qué decidiste vivir ahí? Now I know, you know, before you answer that, you already said Spanish wasn't your strong suit, but do you know what I asked you?
I heard vive in there, so I know that's live.
That's correct. So what I asked you is, why did you decide to live there in Boquete?
Okay, so when I first came to Boquete, it reminded me a lot of where I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, except on a grander scale. Everything in Panama feels like it's Trinidad on a larger scale. I lived in a place called Diego Martin in Trinidad, and it was a place called Blue Basin, and it was kind of just this nice cozy valley, very cool, especially at nights. You can wake up and you can see the mist and the fog in the valley, and it's also home to one of my favorite waterfalls. I have a thing for waterfalls, obviously. And in essence, Boquete really reminds me of home. It's a little colder, it's a lot bigger,
Yes.
but just the spirit of it, it's a nice, quiet, tranquil, very serene place. Lots of vegetation. It's home to some of, not that I'm a coffee drinker, but it's home to some of the best coffee in the world, as far as I heard. And just roses everywhere. The flora and fauna is amazing. It's just, I mean, like, why not? If I would choose to live here I would choose to live here over anywhere else in Panama.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I've heard people say that being locked down in the city was like a nightmare, like you're kind of within these four walls in a urban jungle, and there isn't much you can do for months. Whereas I felt like I was on a long, never-ending vacation in Boquete. I would just walk outside and feel like, yeah, this is the life.
Yeah, you can walk out, breathe the air, see the plants, the flowers, all of that, and look at that.
Birds chirping, seeing little squirrels running around, cats around. Yeah, it was just, very, very tranquil. So, yeah, it does a lot for the mental as well,
Right. So what would you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it.
I was going to say, so what would you say are for you, the top 3 most positive things you find about living in Panama? You may have already mentioned some, and that's okay, but.
Yeah, so to touch on the things that I haven't spoken about already, I am big on exploration. This is me personally. Now, I get that Panama mightn't be for everybody, but that being said, Panama has something for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter what you're into, Panama has it. And it's just that people are not aware of that. But this place has everything. A friend of mine asked me 3 days ago from Trinidad, he's like, bro, is there anywhere in the Caribbean that does skydiving? I'm like, Dominica, maybe. I've heard of 1 or 2 places in the Caribbean, maybe. But hey, come to Panama, they have it. And that flattened him. He's like, I can't believe that they have that as well, because I've been telling him and featuring things that Panama has. And it's just, again, people are not aware. So in a sense, that's one of the things about Panama that I think is a top thing for me. Just the versatility of whatever you're into. If you're into golf, if you're into baseball, soccer, even American football. I've seen people playing American football here. And that's as far as sports go. If you're into a nice, cool, cozy mountain life, they've got that. They've got great elevations with volcanoes and so on. There are the beach style of living as well. And there is the beach style of living as well. So if you're just into that coastal vibe, you can get some nice apartments on the coast. And if you're into surfing, you walk downstairs or you take the elevator down for 5 floors and you're on world-class waves. It's just, there's something for everyone. If you're into the whole metropolitan lifestyle with just like city life and nightclubs and so on, there's that. Whatever you're into, they have it. You know what I mean?
So since you mentioned surfing, not to get off track, but I know you're a big surfer. So, how did you manage to get into surfing? It's not something that you hear a lot of people.
Something that I started in Trinidad, actually. It was just a friend of mine who I guess was exposed to that from very young. And as we became better friends, I asked him, like, it's something he always spoke about. If it's one thing you know about surfers, especially when they're younger, teen years, that's all they talk about. There is nothing else but surfing in life, you know what I mean? So in him speaking about it so much, shout out to Michael and Donald, they are always talking about surfing, and I was intrigued. I was always leaning towards like the adrenaline seeking things, extreme sports. That was just one of those things that I saw on television every so often that I was like, geez, I'm gonna be out there. And I always love water. So it just kind of fit. And I started going up with them. And 15 years later, I'm hooked still. There's nothing boring about surfing. That being said, Trinidad is not the best place for waves year round. There are the seasons that things get really good, and that's like around the hurricane season, like now, where November, December, January, and we're like right below the hurricane band.
Right.
Belt, sorry. And every time a hurricane passes, it just pushes this energy north, like north swell and so on. And there are places in Trinidad that get really good. I mean, world class good. So in essence, we always are anticipating that season, and we're pretty much surfing whatever crap that comes during the year, just training until that season comes, we're ready to get out there. You know what I mean? And then that's another selling point for me in Panama, where you have endless options if you're a surfer on the Caribbean side, on the Pacific side.
Right.
It's crazy. When I didn't know all of this before I got here, you know what I mean? And there's a place called Panama now, it's a favorite of mine, where no matter if it's flat everywhere else in Panama, that place has waves day in, day out. I call it the wave magnet. So again, if that's what you're into, go live in Playa Banal and you can surf to your heart's content. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, and I've not touched many places that actually are really good. I was in Bocas del Toro, but I was there in the wrong season. But there gets really good as well, and the season is coming, so I'm due back there in December. And of course, I'm taking the cameras.
Yep. Saw that video.
Yeah,
all you had to just make the best of it, you know, and you did.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know you said like surfers have plenty of options, but when it comes to someone teaching surfing, I only have one option, and that's you. So I'll sign you up.
I'll be happy to.
Give me some lessons, man, if you wouldn't mind.
I will be happy to.
Can't wait to meet up with you to make that happen, man.
Wonderful.
So with that, what would you say are 3 of the negatives that you found about Panama? 3 things, or maybe of something that didn't meet your expectations, if there's any.
So while I would say there are negatives, it's kind of part and parcel of what makes Panama. So I would say it's a concern, but it's not so much a negative, because if that negative was rectified, the essence of Panama starts to change. And that would be getting things done in a timely fashion, that is. And you can get things done, but in a timely fashion. Panama is so laid back, so laissez-faire, if you're familiar with that term.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I'm no stranger to. I live in a Caribbean island, you know what I mean? Third world countries tend to be a lot more laid back when it comes to processing things, even if it's on a governmental scale. Like it's like pulling teeth sometimes. And Panama is no exception to that, where there are institutions that move quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of them, they take their time. You know what I mean? So on a professional scale, it does tend to get a bit frustrating. They don't prioritize time the way a New Yorker person would do. For example, I was ready at 6:30 p.m. for this call with you. Had I fallen into the Panamanian mindset, you may have heard from me 9 p.m. You know, if you're lucky, I mean, I might have called and maybe not, you know.
Maybe not at all, right?
Hey, sorry, I missed your call. You know, we can set it up for another time. But then again, that's what kind of makes Panama. It's a very laid back place. And once you kind of get out of that mindset that I mean, don't get me wrong, business has to happen. Commerce is very relevant here. But you just have to kind of keep that in mind, you know. And once you're okay with that, once you get past it, then you're going to have a grand time here. You know what I mean?
So we did.
So I would say that's one thing.
Mm-hmm. If you don't mind me
Say
jumping in on, yeah, I'm gonna just jump in one for a second on that point that you just made. So we covered that in our Why Move to Panama Part 2 video, and maybe Part 1 video dealing with the culture of Panama, and that it is kind of laid back like that. And basically that they're going to choose, because of their culture, that the relationships of their families and their friends is more important to them. They're going to prioritize that over any kind of business meeting or anything like that. So like you said, it's kind of a minus, but it's also kind of a plus at the same time.
Exactly.
Sorry to
So
interrupt you,
it's
but I'm
almost like
go
it's
ahead.
almost like in doing that, in prioritizing that, their quality of life is like it's a little less stressful, and I feel like they value the things that you should value in life. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's do business, but let's make sure everybody's taken care of
That's
first. You
right.
know, make sure everyone is happy. You know, that kind of thing. So it's not. That's why I said it's not so much a negative. It's something that can be improved if they care to. But it's also something that you can safely fall into without losing yourself and still get things done. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
by taking your time. Another thing would be what is that? What is that? I guess I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to hit three. If it's only one is good,
Yeah, there isn't much about. I mean, I don't know if it's because I haven't been part of this place for long enough. I don't know,
Right.
but I mean, there isn't many bad things that I can say about it. You know,
Okay.
that would just be it.
So how would you say expats in general are treated, and more specifically, Black expats in Panama? Because as we talked about a little earlier before coming on, you got a lot of people trying to leave the United States right now with all of the crazy and madness that's going on. Um, and so they're looking for places to go. A lot of people considering Panama, a lot of people watching your videos that are considering Panama. And so how would you say expats are treated there? And what's the
So
racial climate like?
usually, I am not the one to get into conversations of race and so on. I tend to steer clear of that. However, I am happy to report and say I have not personally experienced any sort of racism since I've been here. Again, I'm only here 11 months. But I mean, I guess, a form of classism, not necessarily racism, which is something that you're going to experience anywhere. You know what I mean? Like if there is no even distribution of wealth amongst any citizens in a country, you're going to have some level of classism. And this it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I feel like you can achieve the things that you want to achieve here if you put your mind to it. Panamanians, I see, who work very hard to
Mm-hmm.
get what they want to achieve, and they live the lifestyle that they want to live. So I would say there is I've seen not really experience, but seen a level of classism that can be worked on. But as far as racism, not a bit.
Stay tuned for part two, where Rich tells us more about race relations in Panama, the social climate in Panama, and the direction of his YouTube channel going forward.